So the question is Candace Owens crazy? And the reason why I asked tonight, I watched her show on that first installment of The Bride of Charlie, which is diabolical in its name. But what I found interesting this week is where how they sorry about that, but how the attacks came on her this week, once she released that trailer. um it seems that there's a coordinated effort to attack her, like on a week, when she decides to take a week off. And um, it is very interesting. Now, I'm gonna tell you this right here. The first time I came across, well, I don't think it was the first time I came across Candace Owens, but when I came across Candace Owens, one of the first times, it was in this video right here, right? It was during this time when she was at this Senate hearing on hate crimes. Now, why I bring this up is because I find Candace talked tonight about Operation Looking Glass, and she said this kind of like half-assed when she said that she wondered if they saw her. Well, in this picture right here, Candace is obviously sat in the middle, but there's a gentleman sat over her shoulder. Over her would be her right shoulder, and that man is her grandfather. And there's something about this image when I first saw it, and when I found out who that guy was sitting behind her. I think, for me, it made me a huge fan of her. Made me very, very interested in who is Candace Owens, and there's just something about her grandfather sitting there with her while she was being grilled about the hate crimes. And so this makes me think about what Candace said tonight when she said, did they see her in the Operation Looking Glass? And that's a great question, Candace, to ask, because now that I look back at this and then I think about where you were in this photo right here, how you were being accused of being an anti-Semite, and maybe they thought that what they would do was maybe they saw you in that Operation Looking Glass thing that you were talking about. Maybe they did see you. Maybe that's why after this happened, and let's watch a little bit of this. But maybe that's why after this happened, maybe that's why you started to get the opportunities that you got, from the Zionist people who right now who want your head on the platter. But I just thought this thing right here, with her grandfather there, it was just.
There we go. Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member, Mr. Collins, thank you for having me here today. I received word on my way in that many of the journalists were confused as to why I was invited, and none of them knew that I myself was the victim of a hate crime when I was in high school. That's something that very few people know about me.
And this is Candace again, guys. She talks about herself during this time. And just from that little opening right there, I could tell she was trying her best to prove that she wasn't an anti-Semite, because you hear her say it all the time about how she grew up with a lot of Jewish people and and that kind of thing. But here we go. Oh, sorry.
I'm not interested in telling the truth about me because I don't fit the stereotype of what they like to see in Black people. I'm a Democrat. I support the President of the United States, and I advocate for things that are actually affecting the Black community. I'm honored to be here today in front of you all because the person sitting behind me is my son.
Yeah, Candace, they definitely saw you coming, and they thought that they could buy you like they do most people, but they didn't understand that you were somebody of impeccable character, and you're the definition of a friend. Charlie Kirk was lucky to have you as a friend.
75-year-old grandfather. I've always considered myself to be my grandfather's child, and I mean to say that my sense of humor, my passion,
Oh, I'm
and my
sorry.
work ethic
I'm sorry, guys. She's talking about the grandfather right there. Let's go back.
I've always considered myself to be my grandfather's child to see in Black people. I'm a Democrat. I support the President of the United States, and I advocate for things that are actually affecting the Black community. I'm honored to be here today in front of you all because the person sitting behind me is my 75-year-old grandfather. I've always considered myself to be my grandfather's child, and I mean to say that my sense of humor, my passion, and my work ethic all comes from the man that is sitting behind me. My grandfather grew up on a sharecropping farm in the segregated South. He grew up in an America where words like racism and white nationalism held real meaning under the Democrat Party's Jim Crow laws.
And he must be so proud as a grandfather to have raised this young lady. That's what I was thinking in the moment when I was watching this at the first time. You know, if you guys, this is your first time on the Culture Playbook, please hit the like button. Get in the comment section. You know, if I'm on point, let me know. If I'm getting a little off point with what I'm talking about, please help me stay on point. Thank you for being here.
My grandfather's first job was given to him at the age of 5 years old, and his job was to lay tobacco out to dry in an attic in the South. My grandfather has picked cotton, and he has also had experiences with a Democrat terrorist organization of that time, the Ku Klux Klan. They would regularly visit his home and they would shoot bullets into it. They had an issue with his father, my great-grandfather. During my formative years, I had the privilege of growing up in my grandfather's home. It's going to shock the committee, but not once, not in a single breath of a conversation did my grandfather tell me that I could not do something because of my skin color. Not once did my grandfather hold a gripe against the white man. I was simply never taught to view myself as a victim because of my heritage. I learned about faith in God, family, and hard work.
That's a man who knows what he put into his child. He's sitting there with the confidence of, I know what's going to come out of her mouth, without even knowing what's going to come out of her mouth. But the question here is, and I think that's enough of that, is Candace Owens crazy? Or is she evil? Because that's what what her detractors would have you believe, that she's evil and she's, attacking this widow, in this case being Erica Kirk. But Candace makes some very, very valid points in the opening of this, the Bride of Chuck, and the Bride of Charlie. I mean, some very things, and I'm starting to understand what she means. Like when she says, when she gets over the target, you start hearing, all these different coordinated attacks start coming in and at her or whatever. And it's a fascinating story for a lot of reasons. You know what I mean? Me, it seems to be very simple. If Candace Owens is crazy and is evil, just ignore her. You know what I mean? Just ignore her. But this Bride of Charlie piece right here. We're gonna listen to the opening right here. But Candace, please don't flag me. Please, just what I mean. I'm trying to understand there a little bit better and what you got going on, because they calling you crazy and she thinks crazy and evil and all this other stuff, and I just don't see it that way.
There is a very strange thing happening right now where a young woman with absolutely zero professional qualifications has been inserted at the top of a charity organization that pulled in over $250 million last year. And
they accuse her of her detractors accuse Candace of using this story to make money on thing. And if like I know, Candace has been a successful podcast before this story. I think it's a great risk that she's taking in honor of her friend, to basically stop everything and to find answers to what happened to her friend.
the media is telling you that you have no right to know or to ask anything about her. The argument being made is that Her husband was murdered. Therefore, she has a right to assume the position. And despite the fact that Turning Point USA is a literal charity, and therefore it's not even have to pay tax on that $250 million plus or pay tax on the alleged future billions that it's due to rake in thanks to a deal with a man named Pierre, these talking heads are claiming that the public simply wanting to.
Yeah, I agree with the comment, bro. She is obviously the most fearless journalist. You know, some people say she's not a journalist. Yeah, I think she's a damn good journalist. She's an investigative journalist to the highest order. Here we go.
To ensure the person who is running that organization is, I don't know, at a bare minimum, moderately honest about who she says she is. No, that inquiry makes you a monster. So I guess your job is to head to work 9 to 5, receive a flurry of unsolicited emails and text messages reminding you that Charlie Kirk, the innocent man that you watched be executed in broad daylight live, you're to be reminded that that was her Charlie. My Charlie needs your help. Here's how you can give us your 401k and house. The emails have been landing into your inbox at an alarming rate, saying things like that. There's virtually nothing that the feds are telling us about his murder that makes any objective sense. But if you're
yeah, because I mean, you know, they don't. It's not talked about a lot right now, but that 30-06 bullet to the neck, the whole theory is bananas. Okay, take it from me. I got a 30-30 sitting. It's not close. I thought I'd have a bullet somewhere. Yeah, I could take your head off with a 30-30, much less a 30-06, but that topic has been exhausted. There we go.
Feeling weird about any of that, you're reminded constantly that she is a grieving widow. She's a grieving widow. That sentence, in my opinion, is this year's Trust the Science. She's a grieving widow. The mainstream media, of course, Zionists implied, are effectively telling you to roll up your sleeves and get the vaccine again, dopes. Tyler Robinson did it. Erica Kirk is grieving. Please allow her to do so in the privacy of the billion-dollar charity that she took over. Remember when they did the 6 feet social distancing thing? They cast that spell. Let your granddad die alone in the hospital. If you desire to see your grandma this Thanksgiving, it's because you're a demon from the gates of hell. Yeah. Resist your human instincts. Obey the government. It's the same kind of messaging, the same kind of emotional manipulation, but it's a new year. Still have questions or concerns about who Erica Kirk is and why she seems to have lied many times on record? Well, you're Satan, and I'm sorry that you are. And also, I would like to remind you that you are destroying Charlie's legacy. Now,
yeah, that's crazy. And I'm gonna tell you, when this thing first happened, when they were talking about when Candace was saying that, hey, they're trying to steal his legs, I had no idea what she was talking about. I you know what I mean? I could not sit here and act as if I understood a little bit what she was talking about. But then as things started playing out, you know what I mean? As you know, you started to now as you look back on it, you're saying, why in the hell is the leader of Israel commenting on this, you know what I mean, on this young man's assassination? You know what I mean? And then again, for somebody like me, you start connecting the dots, because I wasn't connecting the dots before about the whole Israel and him, you know, breaking away from Israel. And then that thing started to, it made sense to me then what they were meaning by they were trying to capture and steal his image. You know what I mean? Like, let's wipe away all of the, you know, hey, I'm having second thoughts on my support for Israel. Let's move away from that. You know what I mean? Let's forget about that, and let's just talk about how Charlie Kirk was the biggest fan of Israel and the Zionist movement there is. So that's when the light started to come on for me. Like, hold on, let's pay close attention to what Candace is saying.
it is very important that I remind you, we haven't even said anything yet. A 2-minute trailer resulted in one of the most aggressive preemptive PR strikes that I have ever seen. They posted photos of my manager's infant daughter, my makeup artist, my family members. That's a voicemail for my producer. Okay, well, this was initially supposed to be just 3 episodes. Now I'm thinking about a season 2 and a season 3, because if you haven't quite figured me out yet.
And I'm gonna tell you, I saw an attack come from, it was a subtle attack from Jason Whitlock. You know what I mean? Fan of Jason Whitlock. I'm not gonna sit there and say I'm not a fan of his. But I've been noticing something in that. I've been noticing some in that um, one of the pastors that's on his Harmony show or whatever, has connections to TPU. And and again, they're taking this whole angle of, the widow, don't attack the widow. But I'm with Candace. This lady, yes, she's a widow, that's true. But she's a CEO of a big company. But like Candace, tell it, let's go.
Or thought through how we got here. I don't like it when innocent people are targeted and attacked and on rare occasions shot in the neck in broad daylight. No one blinked when entire investigative series and books were written about Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama, Meghan Markle, because they're public figures. I've effectively endured 10 years in politics with nonstop exposés and investigations into my background, but we're told Erica is somehow untouchable. Let me tell you something. The truth does not require a multi-million-dollar PR campaign. It also does not fear inspection. So welcome to Bride of Charlie.
We have nothing to hide.
Yeah, man. And I encourage you to go over and watch the rest of this over on Candace's channel. She gets into a letter that basically spoke to what everybody else was seeing when we first started to see Erica Kirk on TV, going through the whole, what she was going through. And then the way that the funeral or the memorial or whatever you want to call it played out. But yeah, go check out Candace Owens' video. I mean, her show tonight, great as always, gave us a lot to chew on. So we'll see what happens moving forward. With that being said, I appreciate you guys for being here. If you would, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button, as I will be doing more content on this channel. So, and we're going to be covering this Candace story, from now until, okay. And I'll be able to go a little longer tomorrow after her show. But yeah, we'll definitely cover this over here on the culture playbook, because this is definitely one of those cultural moments that we'll look back on and say, man, I remember when this happened with Candace Owens. Again, you guys, thank you for being here. Peace.